Hello, welcome back. All right, so today we are going to talk about the cardiovascular system. And all right, let's jump into it. Let me share my screen. Share cardiovascular system. Yeah. All right, so that's this one here. So cardiovascular system include the cardio means the heart, vasculature means the vessel, and this system is a system to transport the blood. Originated from the heart and then go through the vessels throughout the body. These systems are in the heart. In the heart is in the one of the human's body cavity. So we have these slides early in our lecture, not this lecture, but earlier lecture. And so it should be familiar for you guys. Our body has a cranial cavity, thoracic right here. So each cavity is the like a structure to house the organ, and the heart is inside of it. If we look at the anterior view, we can see the thoracic cavity involve some divisions, and we have the heart region right here, and the lungs, and some other space right here. So heart is here. These divisions are separated by membrane. So the entire thoracic cavity is formed by bone structure. We have ribs, you have sternum, and the vertebra. And but these divisions are formed by soft membrane. So it's called membrane. So lung will have its membrane, heart has its membrane, and so that's that. Uh, this medial portion when we divided this one, the medial portion has another is also called the mediastinum. So media means middle. So this region is called mediastinum. You have the superior mediastinum, and this one is yeah within mediastinum. So superior, and then mediastinum. This mediastinum you also have a more like detailed division. We probably can we'll look in we'll encounter those in the later slides. So here is the thoracic cavity again. So you can see that we have many things. Of course, the lung is the primary portion, take over the thoracic cavity. The heart is small but important. But in addition to those, we also have several pipes to go through the mediastinum. So here is the middle right here. So this is where this because lung, take over a lot of space, and the space between two lung allow us to have those pipes to go through. So you can see that we have the blood pipe, like aorta, this is artery, this is vena cava, superior, inferior, so they go through it. We also have a trachea, so that's air pipe. We also have food pipe, is underneath, behind the trachea. Esophagus will also go through this uh, mediastinum. So that is where it is, the heart. And the heart, if we go further look into that, we can see that these organs are wrapped by membrane. And in general speaking, these membranes basically have similar, this membrane, including the membrane of the lung and the membrane of the heart, have similar design in a way that they are all like each one of these is a continuous membrane. So you can see that, let's use lung, for example. Lung, you can see that it's membrane, and this membrane is continuous, and then to this area, then it turn. So it go like turning back, but it basically is continuous. And if it allows this lung to be positioned, protected by two double lining of the membrane. And this double lining, we call the outer one is the parietal membrane, and the inner one is the visceral membrane. The lung membrane is called pleura, and so the outer one is called parietal pleura. The inner one is called visceral pleura. And for the heart, it follows the same like a structure or the design. We have this membrane is continuous, 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 wrap around the heart. And the inner portion is called visceral part, and the outer portion is called parietal part. The membrane of the heart is called pericardium. So the inner lining is called visceral pericardium, and the outer lining is called parietal pericardium. So this slide summarizes the membrane wrap around the heart and the space between right here, the space between here, space between the visceral and parietal pericardium is this small space is a cavity, pericardial cavity. There are so this is very small. It have some fluid inside, and so with that small fluid, it allow heart. It protect the heart by absorbing the shocks, like like heat or like movement of the organ to protect it from absorbing those force. Yeah, so that's the protection part. Just need to know the terminology. This membrane is called pericardium, and the inner one is called the visceral. The outer one is called the parietal, pericardium. All right. So we can further down look into the cut to it to take a look at the heart wall, because the heart basically is an organ that store the blood. So this heart wall is primarily formed by heart muscle. It's called cardiomyocyte. And so this lecture is right after our lecture about the skeletal muscular system. So those muscles are skeletal muscle. These muscles, this one, heart muscle is cardiomyocyte. So it's another type of the muscle. And so we have three type muscle: skeletal muscle, cardiomyocyte, and smooth muscle. Smooth muscle basically form the vessel wall. So after this lecture, we will be familiar with all these three type of the muscle in human body. So if we cut through it, we can see those layer again. So this is the pericardium. You have the parietal layer of the pericardium. And on top of it, you have further protection that's fibrous pericardium. That's basically additional. Sometimes we don't distinguish these two, but if we want to distinguish these two, you can see that we have the fibrous pericardium and then the parietal pericardium. Between the parietal and the visceral, we do have space though. So these two are separated. This space allow the fluid, and so here you go, pericardial cavity right here. So this space allow some fluid a little bit fluid to present inside, and to absorb this friction, to absorb this force applied on the heart. So after the visceral pericardium, then we see the heart muscle. And this heart muscle is pretty thick, so we have very strong muscle to control the heart pump. And so the muscle right here is not other muscles. This is specific for the heart. This muscle is called cardiomyocyte. And then underneath that, we have the inner lining. The inner lining is called endocardium. This basically is formed by a single layer of the endothelial cell. Yeah. So that's the layer of the heart. If we consider this space and then consider that, okay, after this pericardial cavity, this space, we consider the heart wall is this portion. We can divide this heart wall into epicardium. That is, epi means on the top, like epithelium, like epi is on the top. Epicardium. Epicardium basically is equivalent to visceral pericardium, visceral layer. Then the muscle portion is myo. So myo is the muscle, myocardium, and the inner lining is the endothelium. So we call this portion endocardium. And so something like a quiz question would be, uh, like which layer of the heart wall contains the muscle. You will know that's myocardium. Contains the endothelium cells. That's endocardium. Which um uh which of the wall is equivalent to the visceral pericardium? That is the epicardium. These two are basically the same thing. It's just when you look at it from different perspective. Epicardium is continuously uh, to form the uh, periatal pericardium. Yeah. So that's that. So when we zoom out, we look at the heart anatomy. We know that heart has 4 chambers. We have the right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, left ventricle. So we talk about this one in the lab. Uh, these 4 chambers, when you look at the picture like this one here, you should know that it's like you're looking at a patient. So that's its right side, and that's its his or her left side. And they are connected. Right atrium directly connect with the right ventricle. Left atrium also directly connect with the left ventricle. And they receive the blood and then push out the blood. And so you also need to know their vessel connection. And so when our body has the blood coming into the heart, they will go in through the vena cava, so that's a vessel, transport those blood into the right atrium. And then the right atrium will squeeze the blood into the right ventricle. And then right ventricle will squeeze the blood into the pulmonary trunk. This is pulmonary trunk. Then the pulmonary artery. We have 2 lungs, so it will go into either left or right pulmonary circulation, go into the lung, left or right lung. And then into the lung, they receive the oxygenation. Blood will coming back into the pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein will transport from left and right. Pulmonary veins will transport those into the left atrium. Left atrium will then transport those into the left ventricle. Then left ventricle will transport this oxygenized blood into aorta. And then aorta is pretty long. You have this aortic arch, like arch, and then we have this continuous aorta. Let me show you here. Continuous aorta to transport this blood into our body. Right here. Continuous aorta to transport the blood into our body. Yeah, so that is the blood circulation. With this blood circulation, you should know that the blood coming from the body is vena cava right here. So that's the vena cava. Vena cava, we have the superior right here, superior vena cava, inferior vena cava. After it's oxygenized, receive the oxygen back to the left atrium, left ventricle, and those oxygenized blood will go through aorta to the body. Yeah. So that's the basic four chambers of the heart and their blood vessel connection. You need to know those four chambers. You need to know those vessels connect to each chamber. Between these chambers, we also have doors to separate these chambers. And also this door open to one direction only. So it doesn't open to opposite direction. And with that design, we make sure that blood will be transported into one direction. So there will be no backflow. And the valves between atrium and the ventricles are called AV valve, atrium ventricle valve. We have two AV valve. Between right atrium and the right ventricle, we have tricuspid valve. Between left atrium and the left ventricle, we have bicuspid valve. So bi means two, tri means three. In the left side, this valve, bicuspid, is also called mitral valve. So it's also very commonly heard people say it as a mitral valve. Then the blood going into the vessel, push it into the vessel. We also want to prevent the backflow. And so between the left atrium and aorta, we have the aortic valve. Between the right ventricle and the pulmonary artery or pulmonary trunk, we have pulmonary valve. These two valves, pulmonary valve and aortic valve, is also called semilunar valve. So this valve shaped like semi-lunar, not the full moon, like crest, like smaller, like moon. Yeah. So that's the common name of these two valve. So you need to know that. Yeah. So that is a basic heart anatomy. This heart has four chambers. Each one can do the pumping, and they will push the blood. And we separate this circulation into two portions. So this is another picture. So give you more detail. I think this is the picture coming from the lab. And so you can see that superior vena cava going into right atrium. With this one, I like this one, then this one is because it also show you some tendon. And that set the difference between the AV valve and semilunar. So here we don't see here another semilunar, right? So you can see this tendon. So this tendon hold it. So this door will only open to this direction, but not opposite direction because you have this string to hold on to it. And so this is kind of important because when patient has a heart failure is leading cause of death. One common damage is this door, particularly the mitral valve, because left ventricle pump the blood, oxygenized blood into the body. And so you can imagine that because you need to transport the blood through our body, the force of that pump is very strong. That is the strongest chamber in of the entire heart. And so if there is any defects in it, it will cause lack of oxygenizing blood into the body, and so it will cause organ damage, organ failure, and so the consequence is very bad. And so the health or the well-being of left ventricle become very important. However, eventually or sometimes these organ can have some defects, some failure like injury. And the common injury will be this mitral valve, because if you squeeze it and this mitral valve doesn't close it, and then you push that blood back to the left atrium, you will have less blood pushing into the aorta. And so keep this door closed, prevent it backflow is the key. However, however, injury can cause the uh, the the damage into this string, and then there will be backflow, and then there will be heart failure. Hmm. So that's that. And this string has a name. This string is called chordae tendoni. Yeah. So, and this tendon is held by the muscle. This muscle is called papillary muscle. So these two are important. This muscle contrast to hold on to this tendon. This tendon basically is extended from this muscle, chordae tendoni, and that hold on into the mitral valve as well as the tricuspid valve. And so that is the reason I show you this picture. It's showing you the importance of this one, this chordae tendoni, and also the papillary muscle. All right, so that's that. So this heart will then pump the blood circulation. Let me give you the overview of the circulation. The circulation involves the systemic circulation and the pulmonary circulation. And each circulation has a beginning and the ending. Systemic circulation begins from the left ventricle, transport through the artery, the capillary, the veins. It ends at the right atrium. So that's the systemic circulation. Pulmonary circulation starts from the right ventricle, going into the lung, pulmonary artery, pulmonary capillary, pulmonary vein. It ends at the left atrium. So that is the two circulation, and has a beginning and an end. So it's like a route and a route. Yeah. So you need to know that. They serve different function. The pulmonary circulation comes from the right ventricle to the left atrium. The function is to oxygenize the blood. So they go into the pulmonary, they oxygenize the blood, they get the oxygen from the air. The systemic circulation from the left ventricle to the right atrium is to deliver the oxygen. So they will deliver the oxygen into each organ. You need to know aorta pretty long, and each organ will have its own artery to receive the fresh oxygenized blood. Let's look at this one here. You can see this aorta. Aorta will receive this oxygenized blood throughout our body. And you can see that a lot of branches coming from the aorta. And they will directly transport it into each organ. So each organ will receive those fresh oxygenized blood. Yeah. So that is the circulation. All right. So let's take a break, and we will come back to talk about the artery. Start by looking at the aorta.